Today, we're talking about an industry that is so early stage that very few people even know it exists. There's only a handful of people that actually know anything about it. And Christian Ott is one of those. We have him today to discuss sports finance or sport fi. Welcome, Christian.
Welcome, Elliot. Thank
Yeah,
you for having me.
absolutely. Thank you for being here. Very excited to get into this space. We invest in early stage technologies, and I can't think of one earlier stage than SportFi because I don't think it existed more than a decade ago at least. So, like, could you just give us an introduction to your understanding of SportFi and kind of what is going on in this space that excites you?
Yeah, so SpotFi is a pretty new term that was introduced recently by the guys at Socios. It describes like the whole crypto sports, Web3 sports industry. And I think it started around 3 to 4 years ago, the first Juventus fan token, so of Italian football club Juventus. And then it started with Socios. They issued the Juventus fan token, and then they issued lots of other fan tokens, like, for example, Paris Saint-Germain or Manchester City. Yeah, and then it kind of evolved. So Socios was like, or Chiliz, they were the early ones. They started in 2020, and then with the whole bull market in 2021, a lot of other teams came in that also launched NFTs, sports NFTs. And yeah, it's been continuing ever since. So the SportFi market probably had its strongest period in 2021 and 2022 so far. And yeah, due to the bear market right now, activity has slowed down a bit, but there are still lots of activity, and many different sports brands, also major sports brands, are active in the space. So definitely a space to follow.
Absolutely. And like you said, 2021 was pretty much the biggest year, and that was 2 years ago. So we're incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like that's exciting as an investor. So I guess the question is like, what is the potential for this? Do you see mass adoption happening? What is the outlook for this space that would excite potential investors?
It's a good question. So basically, when it started, nobody knew what it was about. So fan tokens were really new, and people were like, okay, what can we do with fan tokens? And fan tokens really started as a utility product. So you could take part in a few polls and make decisions for the club when you own the fan token. So a bit like a DAO. And what happened after that is there was more and more interest in fan tokens also from a trading perspective. So they got listed. I think the big spark for fan tokens was when they first got listed on Binance. That was, I think, back in December 2020. So that was like the first major exchange listing for fan token. And then lots of other teams joined with fan tokens. Um, and then, all the major sports brands came in. So, for example, I think the Golden State Warriors, they were the first ones to launch an NFT. Like they had a pretty big launch, probably earned like 1 million or even 2 million USD. And then the other NBA teams followed. And they are still active. So, for example, this year, we have seen a few Formula One teams launch NFTs. The Milwaukee Bucks also had another NFT collection this year. So a few teams are still active. A lot of them have, stopped their activity for the moment. I think they are still interested, but they have probably they're watching the market to see what happens. I think it's really interesting to have these major brands in crypto because that was something that we didn't really see before 2020. Like before 2020, crypto was like this niche space where only tech people were involved. But after that, a lot of these major brands came in. And I think the potential is there that I think a lot of other assets will be launched in the future. It depends a bit on the overall market sentiment. So, if we're completely honest here, the teams want to make money with their NFTs and probably their fan tokens, and they can't potentially do that in the current market, or probably can't make these huge amounts of money that we have seen in 2021. But I think once the bull market is back and a lot of people are coming back into crypto, these brands probably want to sell collections again and also fan tokens.
Exactly. So that's kind of the question, like the use case here. And
Hmm.
Chili's Socios is the dominant player, and I guess we have to talk about and really understand what a fan token is and why these teams are using them. Because the fact is, like almost every NBA team, is it true they partnered with Chili's to create this fan token experience, right? Almost every NBA team. Then we have some NFL teams. We have teams all over the world, like you said, Juventus, right? Big football clubs. It's a massive organization. Is it true that Chili's has really made these strong partnerships with these very legitimate sports clubs all over the world?
Yeah, Chili's had a lot of partnerships. I think some of them are fan token partnerships. Other ones were pure sponsoring partnerships, potentially preparing a fan token partnership. Um, in the US, I think fan tokens have slowed down. There are no US fan tokens yet because of uncertain regulatory clarity, especially in the US. But in Europe, there are a lot of fan tokens for like big football teams. So that's where Chili's has a lot of fan token partnerships. And to your question, what a fan token really is, it started as a utility product and it still is. So it started with the fan token polls where you can influence a club's decisions, but you can now also you can redeem tickets, for example. You can redeem experiences like exclusive experiences that you cannot find somewhere else. For example, a few fans were able to play on the pitch in the stadium of a team. So that's like a really exclusive experience, or also meet players, meet staff of a club. And yeah, there's also the trading side. So a lot of these fan tokens are traded on major exchanges. Like for example, there are a few ones that are traded on Binance. There are also ones that are trading on local exchanges like Paribu in Turkey, for example, or Upbit in Korea. So there are also these local communities that are interested in fan tokens, like particular countries that are a bit more interested than other countries. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically what fan tokens are.
Right, exactly. But the sky's the limit here, I think, because like you're saying, the relationship that these sports teams have with their fans is like incredible, right? Fans want to get as much access as possible, and
Mm.
these sports teams can now sell pretty much via experiences these fan tokens, which give these sports fans actually decision-making abilities over these what goes on in these organizations. It could be as simple as their like the uniform color or a song or maybe something even more significant. So we're tokenizing the relationship between these sports teams and fans, which is extremely valuable, right? That's why these big organizations have partnered with Chili's on this, right?
Definitely, yeah. I think
Yeah.
they are probably interested, like from a utility standpoint. They're also interested from a monetary standpoint, so they can actually also make a lot of money with this, depending on how many fan tokens are sold and how big the interest is. And they can combine the two. And football is a very competitive market, or sports in general, right? So if one team can get an edge over like making more money than another team, they will definitely do that. And yeah, especially in Europe, it's very, because here it's not. I think in the States the leagues organize a lot. So the NBA organizes how much money is distributed to the teams, and in Europe it's not. You don't have this league structure. Like the league is not organizing as much as they do in the US. The clubs are more responsible for how much money they earn, how much money they can spend, and there's also no salary cap here, so it's a bit more competitive, I would say, in a monetary sense.
Right. That makes sense. If I put up kind of a graphic of all of Chili's and Socios' sponsorships or partnerships, I think they do include a bunch of NBA teams, Formula One teams, esports teams.
Hmm.
It's global. So in the United States, they have had a lot of discussions with the biggest sports organizations, right?
They had lots of discussions, but they cannot launch a fan token right now, but they had sponsorships with them. But
Got
I
it.
think they're waiting for regulatory clarity on that.
Right, exactly. So that's what's exciting about this, right? So yeah,
Hmm.
we're so early stage, we don't even have laws around it, but they've had the discussions. I've seen the headlines like the Patriots, New England Patriots,
Hmm.
like are in discussions with Socios to launch a fan token experience. So once we do get there, the upside seems enormous. So the question is kind of like, the revolutionary nature of this. And so, right, so that you can also, it's also, is it a way of like almost, I don't want to say betting on the outcome, but the Argentina national team's fan token will do better if it wins the World Cup, right?
Yeah, it's a bit of a inverse correlation, I would say. So we saw that with the World Cup last year. Um, Basically, there was a lot of anticipation before the World Cup. So the fan tokens of Argentina national team or Portugal national team, they went up a lot before the World Cup, but then once the World Cup started, everybody sold the news. So
Yeah.
that's like kind of a mechanism we always see in the fan token space, especially with major events, where like the price goes up, before a major game or before a major tournament, and then after it starts, the price decreases.
It's probably because the people that know how to move markets are kind of front running the news, and then the
Yeah,
people
yeah,
that learn
definitely.
later on. Yeah, so they're trying to just sell the assets into
Yeah.
the hands of the people that are late to the game, pretty much.
Yeah, it's basically the same as with exchange listings. So,
Yeah.
the rumor of an exchange listing is always priced higher than the actual point where it's listed, or a few hours after it is listed. So,
Yeah, I mean that's why markets are so hard because the people that know anything are already in it before
yeah,
it
yeah,
happens. And
definitely.
so, do you see that as kind of what's going to happen with Chiliz, with crypto as a whole? Like, obviously everyone's afraid right now, everyone, but
Mhm.
there are people building in the space. Do you think that eventually it's going to mature and, the early stage investors are going to do better than the people that come in late to the game?
So, I've been in crypto for quite a while now. For 6 years, I entered in 2017, and if I compare this now, like the bear market now to 2018, it's the infrastructure and the people in it are so much bigger. So back in 2018, I would say that we were actually wondering if this continues, right? Does this really have a future? Is this really going to be around for the long run? And I think right now nobody is doubting that. Like, people don't doubt that Ethereum will be around in the long run, or Bitcoin. The prices may be low, but I think the confidence in the whole ecosystem is so much bigger than it was like 4 years ago. And but I think markets work in cycles, and crypto is like a, I don't know, like a stock market on steroids. Right?
Yeah.
It's just so much faster. So when the stock market usually goes up, crypto goes up a lot faster, and then when it goes down, then crypto goes down a lot faster. So I think the speculative nature of crypto won't go away, but probably it will be a little less in the future. So we can already see this with past Bitcoin cycles. So I think in the first Bitcoin bull market, it went up 500x or so, and in the bull market of 2020, 2021, it went up just 20x. So compared
Yeah.
to 500x, that's a little
Right.
lower, right? And probably in the next bull market, if there is one, not financial advice as always, then it might go up, like, I don't know, let's say it does a 10x or
Right.
5x or from the lows. So I think it might be a little slower than it was before, but I still think there are a lot of smaller projects that will potentially be influenced a lot more by market movements than the big ones are.
Exactly. It has to do with market cap. Bitcoin's market cap is around 500 billion, so it's going to
Yes,
require
yes.
tens of billions of dollars to move the price, whereas stuff like Chili's will not. It's going to
Mm.
move up way faster. The earlier stage assets, lower market caps move up faster. So that's what we're talking about. So then the question here is like, who are the big players that have exposure to SportFi, that have a footprint, that are actually growing, that have solid fundamentals at this point?
Mm. Well, there are a lot of different platforms that issue these sports assets. Interestingly, it's not only projects that are like only dedicated to sports or SportFi, but there are also a lot of exchanges that issue these sports assets. So, for example, Binance has issued sports NFTs and also fan tokens, or a few other exchanges like Bybit has launched NFTs. Paribu, the Turkish exchange, has launched a fan token. So you have all these major crypto brands that come in, and they also launch these sports assets. I think, without a doubt, Chiliz is like the biggest platform to launch sports assets. And there are a few smaller ones where you don't really know, okay, Do they only launched one? Will they launch another sport asset? How, you know, how well will they be funded in the long run? But Chiliz is definitely the biggest one at the moment.
Okay, so if someone wants exposure to the space, obviously this isn't investment advice, but would Chili's be a safe bet in terms of just the scale they have right now and the growth and the longevity? I mean, we're not saying invest, but like if someone wanted to, is Chili's pretty much the only option, or could you look at maybe other blockchains that have sports NFTs too?
The thing is that so many different platforms have uh, issued NFTs, and they have only issued like one or two.
Hmm.
So it's kind of questionable if they are really like going to be around in the long run. Have they only launched one and burned through all their capital, and that was it?
Yeah.
And there are a few other ones that are a bit shady. So where you don't know, okay, have they have launched something with a team, but is the team still supporting it? Is the team still behind it?
Right.
I don't know. So with Chiliz, you can be sure that they are actively working on it, and the teams are still actively supporting it. I mean, you can always verify this for yourself, right? You can look at social media. Other teams, is, for example, Manchester City posting about their fan token on Twitter.
Yep.
That tells you that they are still involved, right? But
Yeah.
there are other platforms where like the teams came out and they said, okay, we are not working on our fan token anymore, and we broke the contract with the platform that issued the fan token. So that's probably something where you don't want to invest for the long run. But I also want to add with Chiliz, you also have to. So I was pretty early in Chiliz, right? I invested in Chiliz, or I bought Chiliz in 2019. I bought the token in 2019, and then I saw all these people entering, especially in the peak. So Chiliz had like this parabolic run from like 1 cent to $1 in, I don't know, 2 months or so. And all these people entered and they were like, okay, well, I like this a lot and I want to get involved. But then, they didn't consider that it might be overvalued at at some point, even though, the company is legit, right?
Yeah.
The company is legit. They are doing stuff that is great, but still the token is way overvalued at like, I don't know, not because the company is bad or whatever, but because it just did like a run from 100 million market cap to a 10 billion market cap, or I don't know what it was, probably
Yeah.
50 million market cap to 5 billion within a month. Then the upside was limited at that point, and I think Chiliz has suffered a lot from that. And the question is now, is it at a fair valuation? And that's really difficult to answer. I think I'm not sure. Is it at like what's the current market cap of Chiliz? Probably 400 million or something like that.
500 million fully diluted.
500 million fully diluted. Where you could still make a case that it's overvalued. You could make a case that it's undervalued. I think it's hard to tell when you look at the market cap of all fan tokens of Chiliz. So the combined market cap of all Chiliz fan tokens, I think they are around 200 million. So that's something that I was looking at early on, like 2 to 3 years ago, to see if there is like a correlation between the market cap of all fan tokens issued by Chiliz and the actual Chiliz market cap. They were way, way different at some point. So like the Chiliz market cap was like 10x higher than the fan token market cap, but they are slowly approaching each other again. And you could probably make a case that it's fairly valued when it reaches, or it's not, but there's like a bottom where the fan token market cap is at a point where it's exactly the same as the Chiliz market cap. Like this would be something that I'm looking at a fundamental investor, but
Yeah.
it's really hard to tell if Chiliz is like undervalued at a 500 million market cap or overvalued or fairly valued. I don't know.
Yeah, it is hard, but it seems like, I mean, should,
500 million is still a lot.
it is still a lot if you're an early stage
When I
investor.
when I first invested, it was at a 20 million market cap.
Oh, see, that's the sweet zone. Yeah, I mean, you knew what was going on then. Now, but see, everything that caused it to pump to 70 cents, 80 cents back in 2021, haven't the fundamentals of the company just gotten stronger? The fact that there's so few competitors, they've been building, they have a blockchain now, right? A lot of these fan tokens are going to be operating on top of the blockchain. So
Mm.
isn't it just a stronger company coming out of this bear market?
Sure, it's stronger. definitely. But does that mean that it's valued? So sometimes the future is valued already or is already priced in. So I think a lot of people that invested or that bought, I don't like the term invest with crypto. So that bought the token, and they were really optimistic. Like they were like, okay, well, this is certainly going to be the future of fandom. This will be the future of fan engagement, and they already priced this in, right? So they were already, even though the fundamentals are stronger, they were already like, okay, well, the fundamentals are strong right now, and they will be even stronger in the future. So I'm not sure if I think the current fundamentals are already priced in. We might see a point where, because the people that bought Chiliz, they are super optimistic, but they are like, okay, well, every team is going to get a fan token. And that's slowly changing over the past few months, where people are becoming more skeptical. And when at some point people are like, oh, I think this thing is totally dead, then probably it's undervalued again. But as long as these overly optimistic investors all bought into the token, and they were all certain that it's the future of fandom, I don't know, it was like hard to make a case that it's undervalued.
Right. I mean, you were buying it at like a penny, it seems like, or under a penny. So the future was less certain, I think, back then than it is now.
Yes, definitely. There wasn't even an app and there wasn't even a fan token. So it was basically a bet on the future, a bet that they actually do what they say,
Yep.
and that they will, continue to do what they want to do. Right? And they did that, and that was really impressive. And they have done a lot for mainstream adoption.
So I guess just want to close out on talking about Chili's because it's super
Mm,
interesting and they are the dominant player, which is very exciting. And
mm.
again, huge partnerships. We're seeing growth. We're seeing big organizations still excited about their fan token. So with Chili's, they have a blockchain. Anything about the token in particular that excites you as far as utility? Is there a governance component? Is there any utility associated with this token? Maybe the tokenomics you could touch on or anything like that?
So what they did recently was that they launched their own blockchain, where Chiliz is also used as a kind of gas blockchain token. They had a blockchain before, which was Chiliz Chain One, but it didn't really use the token. It was just used for fan tokens, and the Chiliz token was just on Ethereum. And Chiliz token back then was used to buy fan tokens on the Socios app. And now it got this additional utility. So it's not only a token that you can use in the Socios app, but you can also use it on the blockchain to pay gas, similar to ETH on Ethereum or so. So that's like a new functionality, but still this whole and they also want to get more sports companies on their blockchain. So they want to really build they call it the sports blockchain, and they really want to get a lot of companies involved and builders involved that actually build products with, for example, utility for fan tokens or also other sports utility. They want them on their blockchain. They also have a funding program called Chiliz Labs, where they fund innovative projects that want to develop on the chain. So that's something that's new that has been issued this year. Like the Chiliz blockchain is actually, I think it's like 3 months old, 2 to 3 months old.
Mhm.
So that's pretty new. That's something that didn't exist before.
Is the company funded? Because that's what's difficult right now, just surviving this high interest rate
Hmm.
environment globally. Are they funded? Do you think they have a lot of runway?
So they are a private company. They don't publish financial information, and they're also not a DAO. So
Yeah.
we have no insights what their financial situation is, right? So I
Yeah.
can only guess. I think they are still well funded. They recently bought like a stake in FC Barcelona, like a sub company of FC Barcelona. Um, they also still have like a lot of partnerships. They launched also a lot of new tokens last year. So it's kind of hard for me to tell from an outside perspective, and they are also not publishing it. But I would be surprised if the company doesn't survive at
Right.
in
No,
the next few years.
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
really surprising.
I don't think they would have trouble raising capital, and they seem to have plenty of money based on what they're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah.
So absolutely, that's pretty exciting.
But it's a good question. I mean, you can never know, right? We have seen so
Yeah,
many companies in crypto go broke, which was kind of surprising then from the outside. So
exactly.
it's definitely a valid question.
Yeah, no, thanks. And but you're right. I mean, common sense just seems that like they're doing fine, and I don't think they'd have trouble raising money either, which is
Mm.
just based on their growth and everything. So, okay, great. So that's one way to look at the space. Chiliz, the dominant player, and then do you own any fan tokens? If so, why? Is there a reason? Because like we're talking about, the market caps in some of these fan tokens are absurdly small, like 5 million, 10 million. So, the
100,000.
yeah, a few 100,000 exactly. So, I mean, the smaller the market cap, the more explosive upside there is. So it's exciting to think about. So is there a reason that you own any, or is there a reason that someone should think about looking at some to buy?
So I made my fan token wallet public because I run a fan token website and felt more comfortable to have it as public information. And I own at least one unit of every single fan token. I
Oh,
own a bit more of, because if you own at least one, you can participate in all polls and predictions and stuff in the app.
right.
But I have a few more in some, for some fan tokens I have more, others I have a little less. I try to periodically take profits. If one fan token outperforms all the others, like sometimes it happens that a fan token increases in price in a very short time, and then I sell it, and then I put the Chiliz earned back into other fan tokens. So I'm slowly trying to build to have more and more fan tokens, right? To increase the units of fan tokens that I own. I think I currently own fan tokens worth, I don't know. Last time I checked, it was like worth 100,000 Chiliz or so. So like 5,000 euro for 4 to 5,000. The prices fluctuate so much, but in that range is
Yeah.
my whole fan token holding.
I love that strategy because in crypto, it seems like if you sell when it's high and then just buy when the chart is low, it does well generally. Like,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Reallocating is like one of the
Yeah.
best things you can do. One of the best things I have done in the past also, and one of the worst things when I haven't done it.
Yeah. Yeah. You always regret it because it seems like the stuff that's pumping, you have the big sellers coming in, there's
Yeah.
limited upside, whereas the stuff that hasn't even moved, especially in a bull market, like it seems like these assets take turns pumping, right?
Mhm.
So it makes sense to rotate out for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Have you ever been burned by selling too soon though?
Um, yeah, sure. I mean, I have been after 6 years in crypto, you have been burned by every
Yeah.
single way that you
Right.
can imagine.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes I don't know, or by not buying stuff, you can also get burned by that. So you look at a token and you research it deeply, and then you're like, I'm waiting a little more, and then it's just, I mean, the bull market of 2021 was just brutal in that regard. So
Yeah.
the
Yep.
thing is, I bought some stuff that I then sold that then went up way higher. So for example, I had like a lot of Binance token or Binance coin. I kept a good amount, but I just felt overexposed after I sold like a coin that was on Binance for Binance coin, and then I felt overexposed because I had so many Binance coin, and then I sold like a lot of it, and then after that it went from like 20 USD to 600.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this probably was not the right decision, but
Yeah.
yeah, you have to be confident in your decisions, right? So
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like just buying and holding is probably long term the best bet.
and then selling when it has increased by
Yeah,
10x or so.
that's true.
and,
10x
and and
is
then reallocating it into other, I mean, in the current market a 10x seems like, you know it seems totally irrational that something like that would happen, but in a bull market you make a 10x and then you sell and then it makes another 10x. So
you're right. Yeah, yeah, you're right. It's being greedy if you're asking for more than 10x in one trade. Like,
sure.
it's a good point. So I love that strategy. Okay, great. So okay, so you think that you're clearly bullish on fan tokens. You think that there's a future for these as you think capital is going to come into the space, and since these have tiny market caps, they're going to likely appreciate, obviously not investment advice, right?
Yeah, so I'm bullish on the whole market because spend a lot of time building a website and a presence in this space. So I'm doing this full time. So I'm pretty dedicated. And I think the whole market will grow. Doesn't always mean that the price of a particular asset will go up. So the market cap can also go up with a significant circulating supply increase, right? Because market cap is circulating supply times price. So it's also possible that the circulating supply goes up by double the amount of what it is right now. The price stays the same, but the overall market grows by 2x. I'm not sure if we can see like the prices that we have seen for fan tokens in 2021. So for example, Barcelona fan token, I think at some point was trading at 50 USD, and right now it's like trading at 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that it's always easier for new tokens to go up in price than for like old ones. I think that's something that we constantly see. So we have actually also seen that recently with a few fan tokens, or a few newer fan tokens that came out last year. They did really well, even though in the current market. But the older ones, they just kind of traded sideways, flat, and it's also a bit random sometimes. So, for example, OG fan token. I don't know if you know OG, the esports team. Yep. They have a fan token on Binance, and I think in the beginning of this year or so, or in spring, it increased by 10x out of nowhere, right? So it just, it went from 2 USD to 20 at some point, and there wasn't really a reason for that, right? Yeah. So it was not like there was major news about the fan token or so. So right. It can be sometimes a bit random.
Yeah, which is really hard to try to take advantage of or get your head around. But it seems like what's good for the organization, the team, is good for the token, though, right? So like if you're investing in the token, you're kind of investing in the team in a way, right?
Yeah, but you have to be careful with that, because sometimes it's the opposite way around. So yeah, for example, we have seen multiple occasions where a team wins a championship, and then after they win the championship, the price goes down 60%.
Right. I know.
Because people just sell the news, right? So you have to, it's more about, it's also not the case for a lot of fan tokens. So mostly for the European ones, the major football clubs, like you don't really see these movements with South American teams, or at least I haven't seen them so far, because there is not so much interest from the community on South American fan tokens at the moment. Probably will come in the future, but for example, the equivalent to the Champions League in South America doesn't attract nearly as much attention from fan token traders than it does than the European Champions League does. Right. So it's kind of it's hard to tell. We've really seen it with the World Cup. So a lot of people came in, they bought the token before the World Cup. It went up a lot. Then the World Cup started, it went down a lot. Then Argentina fan token actually increased again towards the final. And then it fell off a cliff again after the final, after they won, actually. So you can always make a case that that it's potentially better to consider selling a fan token before like a major event happens, especially if it had a major run-up before that, than to wait after it happens. Because I always have these people on Twitter, they always complain where they say, well, they won the Champions League, they won the World Cup, why is the price gone down 50-60% in one day? It makes no sense to them. And I cannot say that it makes sense, but the market has behaved this way in the past. So that's something definitely to consider for the future.
Yeah, I would argue that the only reason these have fallen is because of the macro environment, the bear market. Good news cannot pump these assets, no matter how good it is, right? Swift is using Chainlink to connect banks to blockchains, and tokenizing trillions of dollars of assets. Hasn't budged the price. There's so much great news out there that is just not being baked in because there isn't any money coming into the space. So I would argue this isn't the best environment to gauge how these things are going to behave long term when things do eventually turn around, when risk does come back to the entire financial space. Because right now, interest rates are just suffocating everything. I would kind of argue that.
The same is true with the Bitcoin ETF, right? So
yep.
I think, actually reminds me a lot of 2019. So in 2019, we also had these major news, or actually in 2018, we had this I don't know if they are still around, but Backed was a pretty big story back then, where this New York Stock Exchange they launched a I don't know what it actually was, but it was like the first time that really like major financial institutions got involved with Bitcoin, after the CME futures launch.
Mhm.
And that was super bullish news back in, I think it was 2018, but nobody reacted to that. And I think it's the
Yeah.
same. I'm seeing some parallels right now.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Bitcoin hasn't moved, even though you have BlackRock, trying potentially about to put in billions of dollars of capital
Mm.
into it. I mean, the supply demand fundamentals are there, but no one's even paying attention. But in a bull market, the slightest good news causes these things to rip. So it's just a different environment, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Also, both markets are not rational, right? The bear market
Yeah.
is not rational with not reacting, not seeing anything in a positive way, and the bull market is not rational in a sense that people overvalue every single type of news, right?
Yeah, that was the most annoying thing in the bull market. It was just like there's a rumor that something happened and it would go up to like 50, 60% one day.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. That's true. So yeah, I'd rather be learning about this stuff while stuff's cheap before, a pump, not after the pump. So
Yeah, yeah, true.
yeah, wow. Thank you for shining light on this space. If you have anything else to share, please do. But where could people go to learn more? And could you talk about Rocket Fan? Because it's one of the few websites that are actually focused on helping people learn about this space.
Yeah, sure. So Rocketfan is my website that I develop full time, and it's an analytics platform for the Web3 sports industry, or for SportFi. And it contains both fan tokens, sports tokens, and sports NFTs. So you can find major brands that have launched crypto assets, and you can see, first of all, how they are trading. So what the price is, what the current market cap is. Also, you can find supply information. You can also find a lot of information about the launch. So when these assets first launched, which is especially important for NFTs, because most NFTs are not distributed over time on exchanges, but they are distributed once in a launch event. And yeah, you can find a lot of insightful statistics, and it's really the only website, and which is actually my long-term goal, to build like a place for all sports assets, where you can find them in one place, where you want to see, okay, where you can find a sports brand and you can see all assets that they launched. Or if you don't find a sports brand on Rocketfan, then you can be sure that they haven't launched anything so far. But we're not quite at that point yet, so I'm still in the process of adding a lot of NFTs, especially the ones from 2021. There were so many NFTs launched, it takes a lot of time. But what you can also find on Rocketfan is like an overview of the whole Web3 sports market. So you can see aggregated metrics, for example, the overall combined market cap of all assets, or which particular sports have launched assets. So, for example, you can see that Formula One has launched 27 NFT collection and 3 fan tokens, so 30 Web3 sports assets. And the NBA is also really active with NFT collections, or the European football leagues really active with fan tokens. So that's a lot of stuff that you can find on Rocketfan.
Do you kind of track the NFTs on every blockchain? Because it seems like almost every big blockchain has exposure. So like Binance,
Yeah,
yeah.
I do, and it's a tiring process to add all these blockchains,
Yeah.
but I haven't given up yet.
Right.
And they have, especially when they have customized layer 2 solutions, it's really difficult.
My God.
I wish they would all be on Ethereum. That would make my job a bit easier. But yeah, a lot of blockchain companies also have exclusive partnerships with these sports brands. So, for
Mhm.
example, Tezos has a lot of partnerships with sports brands in the past, and still going on. So yeah, I'm trying to add all of them. Sometimes if it's like a very obscure little blockchain, it can take a bit more time.
Wow. Yeah, I can see that being extremely valuable. Like all these analytics around these assets as people start to, investigate and learn. Because I think people agree, the big money Wall Street agrees that there's a future for this space. It's just nothing can do well in this environment. So you're seeing down charts, right? I mean, look
Hmm.
at electric vehicles, look at biotech, it's all down. So
Hmm.
that's just where we are. But I love talking to the true believers in this type of environment. You don't chase pumping charts, right? That's rule number one of what not to do.
No, no, no. I mean, uh, I would be broke if if I would have
Yeah.
done that, right? So,
Yeah.
but basically, if somebody is new in this space, I mean, consider that every single mistake that somebody that's new in this space that I have made these mistakes also, but I made them 6 years ago and I learned from them. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's if you want to if you stick around, if you still learn, if you just don't burn through all your capital at once, I think you have a good chance to be successful. But don't, if somebody is new in the space, I would probably recommend them not to go all in at first sight, because you will make a lot of mistakes. And um yeah, it's probably better to be a bit careful at the beginning and just figure out on and just to know what you're doing.
Yeah, it seems like you've totally learned, it's ingrained in you now to buy kind of when assets are cheap, ignore price action. If you believe in the long term, then the lower it goes, the better the buying opportunity,
Yeah,
which
sure. And I don't always make the right decisions, right? So I waited. I totally missed like NFTs in the NFT bull market. Totally missed that. I was not involved in any NFTs.
Mhm.
And so I waited until they dropped down like 90%. And I was like, okay, well, I'm giving this a shot. I think seems like a good opportunity. Seems like a better opportunity than when they were trading 10x higher. And then all of my NFTs did another minus 90%.
Oh
So
my
they're
God.
basically worthless right now.
Yeah.
But that's just, that just happens. Right? So
Yeah.
if you don't invest too much of your capital, then that's okay. If you always chase the next pump and you go in with all your capital, and especially also on leverage. I also don't do leverage.
Right.
So, you just learn to be careful. I always think crypto is already volatile enough. I don't need leverage, but that's like a personal opinion.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, leverage costs money. Like there's a time component, like kind of like forces you to make a decision before the right time because you have to worry about the play or whatever.
Yeah, I'm really relaxed
Yeah.
with my crypto token. So I just buy stuff that I like and then just hold it. Sometimes I sell it again if I don't see a future for it.
Mhm.
Sometimes I rebuy when I see, okay, this has a good future, but it's currently totally undervalued.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I also take profits when it's overvalued. Doesn't always mean that the company is bad, right? But it can be overvalued even though they're doing great stuff.
Exactly. I think what I've learned is balance is important. Like
Mm,
even if it pumps, don't sell the entire position. Just hold like 10% of your original position, let it ride or something. And
mm.
when you're buying, don't put all your money in, just put a little bit, then you can put more in later on. It's all about just like flowing and not just making one big decision right away at any time.
Yeah, it's difficult because we have that strategy now in the bear market, and that's like a pretty good strategy over the long run.
Yeah.
But then, in the bull run, I don't know, like 16-year-old kid will come in with a bit of capital, just go in all in one coin, the next coin, and we'll have $1 million a month later, and they will be like, this is so easy. And then you
Oh, I
think,
know.
okay, what am I doing?
Yeah, success is dangerous. Like it's like winning a bunch of money at a casino. You get addicted and you
Yeah. That's
uh,
it's
yeah,
always, it was that way in 2021. Like you had a good let's say you had a good investment, or a good portfolio of crypto assets,
yeah.
and then they made a 10x, you sold a bit, you took profits, and so you may have done really well. Probably you did like a 4 to 5x of your capital. Maybe you even did a 10x of your capital, which is really respectable and absolutely not guaranteed in the long run. But
Right.
then, some other people come in, they just, without any common sense, and they just do like the most risky stuff and they win every single time. So I think that's what brings a lot of people to the wrong path.
Yep, yep. It's like poker, probably. Like you can go all in and when you
Yeah,
shouldn't
yeah,
get lucky.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
like
good comparison.
yeah, that's how a lot of these like people are gonna become millionaires on some meme token that they should have never bought, you know.
Yeah, sure. Shiba Inu or Pepe or
Yeah,
whatever they're all called. Dogecoin, the original.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Uh,
we were all laughing at Dogecoin in 2018, and then it did like 100x after Elon Musk got involved.
yeah, that's a tough one though, because Elon Musk could use it. He could incorporate it into every one of his
Yeah,
companies, make that the payment method, and it could be worth a lot. But it's also
sure.
but there's no utility really except for that. So I don't know. But and also the market cap is ridiculously high on that, right?
It's in my opinion way too high. I mean, what's the
Yeah.
upside on that? Sure, it can go up, but like, what's the up? Generally, I would always say, what's the upside on a crypto token? You know, probably with the exception of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but the upside of every crypto token that has like a market cap of uh, multiple billion USD, that's always limited to me. I don't know. I'm always like, I always have like these because I have like a small following on Twitter, and then I have like people coming to me and say, well, you have to get involved in this coin and this coin, it's in the top 10 and whatever. But sometimes I just don't see the upside in that, even though it's ranked at a very high price.
Yeah, exactly. Because market cap is so important. Yeah, like if it's in the top 10, that's usually a reason I want to stay out because it's,
Yeah.
I mean, clearly the market's already knowing what's going on. There's
Yeah,
no,
I would make the exception for Bitcoin because I hold Bitcoin, and like that's kind of um like a hedge against my other crypto assets, because sometimes you have these periods where crypto does where Bitcoin does better than all other crypto assets.
yep.
But aside from that, I don't know.
Yeah, no. Well, it's like we've been talking about the earlier stage, smaller
Yeah,
market,
yeah.
more upside, and it seems like the whole crypto space is correlated. So the smaller stuff outperforms the larger stuff.
It was a good sign when that fan tokens were overvalued in 2021, when the market cap of the fan token was higher than the equity market cap of the club.
Oh my gosh.
That actually happened. So a few
Yeah.
clubs had like a higher fan token market cap than
Wow.
some clubs are traded on the stock exchange, right? And the market cap of the club was like at, I don't know, 50, 60 million, probably 100 million. The fan token was traded at a higher market cap. So that was not for a long period of time, but sometimes it was the case when they first got listed and on launch day or something like that. This was really like a sign of irrationality to me.
Yeah, wow. That's such a great way of looking at those. Wow. Good stuff. Well, and so where can people go to learn more from you and find you and stay on top of your updates?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm most active there. I'm at RocketFan on Twitter. You can also follow our international Twitter account that is at rocket.fan, dot written as a word. And we're also on Telegram, it's also at RocketFan. We have an announcement channel there.